Alright, welcome to the NPL Miners draft analysis. Pretty crazy that this is going on so early, because my, finals match for the tryouts was actually went up last Sunday, so pretty cool that this is starting up so early and we got the draft done so quickly. So talking about the draft, I was pick 16 out of 16, which, in my opinion, I've heard a lot of people say they like the, 16th, being the 16th person that we'll pick the best. I actually disagree. I know it's a very sort of controversial topic in the league community, but in my opinion, in an open, this is less so in tier drafts, but in an open draft, you always want to be as, you want to have as high of a pick as possible because there's no penalty for taking the best mons you can. I feel like you can go for more value picks that have synergy together when you're 16th in a tier draft, but when you're 16th in an open draft, you're just getting the 16th best mon out of what's available. I understand getting the 16th and 17th best mon, but at that point, like, there are so many good mons in the format that there's sort of like an upper tier of what's really good versus what's, good. You might not be able to get, your Thundies, your Magirnas, your Tapu Kokos, your Mega Kangaskhans, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to be able to get that in, if you're 16th pick. So, in my opinion, 16th pick is the worst to be in an open draft, but, it's what we're stuck with, so I tried. There are advantages to having the wheel pick, there are, but not my cup of tea, you could say. So, despite that, I actually got probably my second choice in Mons, which is pretty cool. This was a Mon that I was really borderline about voting to ban it. The GBA has never had it be legal. Well, first of all, Mega Kangaskhan was allowed, but that got picked second, which was my first choice, obviously. I mean, that mon's disgusting. I didn't expect it to get to me at all. Even though Seismic Toss was banned on it, we still decided that it was still generally probably the best mon in the format. Probably borderline. Magirna is really, really good too. That went first, Mega Kangaskhan went second, and then the rest were pretty standard picks, Got your Tapus that were picked pretty early. You got Manaphy, Victini, stuff like that picked very early. So the mon I actually got banned in GBA for ever since it's been released, and I think it's just ridiculous in the draft league format. It can do so many different things, and that mon is Hoopa Unbound, Lord Zaza, the Hoopa Unbound. So, this mon's really cool. Obviously, some obvious weaknesses with 80 HP, 60 defense, 80 speed. It's going to be dying to fast mons with U-turn pretty often. But base 160 attack, base 170 special attack, base 130 speed F. That's some good stuff right there. So the most obvious thing when you look at this mon is a choice Scarf set. You can run Scarf, be faster than most things, utilize your base 160 attack, base 170 special attack, utilize Hyperspace Fury, and even mixed coverage. This probably is some of the best coverage of any mon in the game besides Mew. Brick Break, Dark Pulse, Drain Punch, Energy Ball, Fire Punch, Focus Blast, even Foul Play on a bulkier set you can make it work pretty well. Although Hyperspace Fury is almost always hitting harder because you always have a higher attack stat than your opponent with a base 160. Grass Knot, Gunk Shot, Hidden Powers, Hyperspace Fury, Ice Punch, Knockoff, Nasty Plot, which is pretty cool. You can run a Sweeper set with this. Unfortunately, it doesn't get any speed boosting moves, so it does get Trick Room, which is definitely a pretty cool move on this. Then you get Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Taunt, which is very useful. Especially on a mon with good speed F, you can taunt those bulky waters, switch in, threaten them out, taunt them. And it also gets Trick. You can trick your Scarf away onto whatever wall wants to switch in. I have no idea what wall will want to switch in on this because they all die. And then Zed Headbutt. So, very scary coverage on this Mon, and looking forward to use it a lot. Obviously, you can run like any bulky sets. It can run, special, physical, Scarf, Specs. It was banned from OU for a reason, so it's been really cool using this Mon, and I look forward to using it a lot. So since I was Wheel, I wanted to get a Mon that paired with this Mon really well. I wanted something to switch into Earthquakes because this obviously dies to it. I want something to switch into U-Turn, something that, could switch into something like a Land OT. So I picked up one of the best flying types in the format, in my opinion, and that is Zapdos. So what Zapdos does is it gives me a pretty good physical wall, especially for ground types. It's hard for them to hit this really hard. They can hit me with Stone Edge, but I outspeed most of them, can roost off the damage, and lose my flying typing. Very reliable to Fogger, and solid Mon in general. You guys know what Zapdos does. It's been around forever, and it's always been a super solid Mon in the format. So I'll just move on. After getting those 2 picks done, it's 30 picks until it's my turn again. So I had a while to wait. Didn't really plan my draft at all because I knew everything was just going to get sniped. So I got back to my turn. I still have no components of my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, which I think is by far the most important thing to have in your draft, in addition to speed and taunt users. So I get 2 components of my Fairy Steel Dragon Core. I grab Mega Altaria, Mega Mascot pick. I love this Mon, even though it got a sort of a nerf in Gen 7 with Pixelate only boosting by 1.2 instead of 1.3. It's still very powerful. It can still run. You can still sweep with Dragon Dances very easily. It can still run a very powerful special offensive set. It can run a very powerful bulky set. It's a Cleric. It's Roost. Gets Cotton Guard. Gets Agility. A ton of different things this Mon can do. So very cool Mon to use. Last time I used it, I think, was CFA Season 2. So I draft this thing pretty periodically. It's probably one of my most used Megas. I'm trying to think if I ever used a Mega more than this. I don't think I have. So I'm the Anaheim Altarias for a reason. So hopefully I can use this thing well. It's been great for me in the past, and hope to use it well in the future. So, since I'm the Wheel, I want to get something that pairs with this pretty well. Usually what wants to switch into Fairy and Dragon stabs from Mega Altaria are going to be Steel types. And Steel types are a bit of an issue already because, they resist one of Hoopa-Unbound's stabs. They resist a Psychic stab. So I wanted something that can just, destroy Steel types and eliminate them from the field. So what I drafted was Dugtrio. Shout out to the minors tryouts. Sorry, bad joke. Alright, so we got Dugtrio. Dugtrio, really good, got a huge buff in Gen 7 with plus 20 boost to attack it got. It can now OHKO a lot of the steel types. It was having trouble OHKOing in the past gen. Obviously we'll want a Arena Trap on this, but it's a ground type, which is, pretty much required on any draft. I want something that can switch into electric type moves. Even though I have Altaria to switch into electric type moves, Dugtrio can also do that pretty well. If they don't predict me, I can still have, Sash. And it's a reliable rock, not really reliable rocker, but it's a rocker. And since I don't have rocks yet, I will definitely want some of those. And I definitely, in my later picks, get more into reliable rockers. You can see in my next pick, actually, that's what I prioritized. I wanted a rocker and a steel type next, and I also wanted more speed. Hoopa-Unbound and Mega Altaria are sitting at 80 speed, and Zapdos is at 100, but it's usually not a faster set. So I wanted something fast, a steel type, something that can set up rocks. Pretty much Cobalion fit that role perfectly, but boy, JB Productions stole the Cobalion, and I had to go with my second pick. I still love this Mon. I think it's going to be great on the team, but not as good as Cobalion would have been. So I picked up Metagross. So Metagross, it's the I've drafted it before. It's been very good. You know, switches into Lottie, stuff like that. Some obvious weaknesses with the Steel Psychic typing is weak to Ghost, Fire, Ground, and Dark. So, you know, a little bit more weaknesses than you usually see from Steel type, but the Psychic typing allows it to have a lot of resistances as well. This thing's very bulky. Obviously one of the more reliable rockers in the game. It has a lot of cool sets which you can run. You can run Power Up Punch, Agility, Explosion, you know, a bunch of different things that this thing can run. So I look forward to using this. I've used it in the past and it's always worked out super well. I had it in CFA Season 3, I believe, and you know, I liked it a lot. Probably the craziest set I brought with it once was against my man Gypsy, and I brought Max Spadef, Power Up Punch, set up on Latios. It was a weird set. I had to sack it off to Thundy in that game, but would have been cool. So to pair with Metagross, I wanted to start with my Fire, Water, Grass core. You know, I have none of that yet, so on the wheel with Metagross. I'm also, you know, lacking a little bit of hazard removal. I only have one hazard remover so far. I have Zapdos. So I wanted something that can remove hazards, something to start my Fire, Water, Grass core, and I think this mon's really cool in general. Do a lot of different things, one of the more versatile grass types in the format. So I picked up Tyriz, the Decidueye. So I'm really excited to use this mon. I think it's going to be awesome. So just scrolling through its move pool, like, it gets Baton Pass, Defog. It can, with its stats, it can run both physical and special really well. Haze, Nasty Plot, Roost, Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw. You're never gonna run Shadow Claw because you can run Spirit Shackle, Sucker Punch, Swords Dance, Toxic U-Turn. So this is gonna be really cool because Spirit Shackle trapping, in my opinion, is pretty underrated in League. Gothitelle, in my opinion, goes way later than expected. I don't think Dugtrio should have made it to me, you know, because I picked it at the end of the 3rd round. But trapping things with Spirit Shackle and then toxicking them, roosting up, very useful to have. And then this is probably one of the more reliable defoggers because Grass Ghost typing does really well in general. And switching to a lot of different mons. Pretty solid defensive stats with 78, 75, 100. And there are a lot of cool things you can do with Spirit Shackle. Like if you trap a certain mon in, you can set up on it and then Baton Pass out. Like if I set up like 2 SDs and then pass them into Hoopa, pass them into like a Scarf Hoopa, it could be a fun time. If I set up some SDs, pass them into Dugtrio or whatever, anything really. So looking forward to using this. You can do a lot of different things. Obviously a reliable defogger, which I'm going to bring a decent amount of the time. And it's going to be pretty cool. So let's move on. So next thing I wanted a good bulky water. I think it's pretty important to have a good bulky water. A lot of them were dropping at this point, and I wanted to make sure I could get my hands on a good one. In my opinion, one of the best ones actually was still around. One of my favorites to use. And that is Milotic. So, Nigerian Snake Lord, the Milotic. So, Milotic actually got kind of a cool buff in Gen 7. It can run actually Flame Orb. What Flame Orb used to do to it is deal 12% per turn, but now it's only 6%. So, you can actually run a pretty cool Marvel scale Flame Orb set. I mean, I'm probably going to be bringing leftovers every week anyway, but just a small little buff that I got in Gen 7 if I need to bring that. So, super solid defensive stats. You want to pretty much always run max defense on your bulky water to be able to switch into earthquakes and stuff like that. But I like bulky waters with good Spadef because then you can feel free to run max defense and still be able to take special hits really, really well. Obviously, Milotic doesn't have the best move pool, but access to Recover, Scald, Ice Beam, Dragon Tail, Haze, all very cool to have. And if I'm feeling it, I can run Coil if I want to. So, cool mon. I've used it in the past. It's always done work, and, you know, bulky water. What can I say? Then for this next pick, I wanted to just complete my fire, water, grass core. I wanted, a little bit more speed, maybe another scarf cleaner. I know speed's like a big problem in my draft so far. The only mon breaking 100 is Dugtrio. I guess Zapdos breaks 100, but it doesn't go any past 100. So I picked up Darmanitan, another really strong breaker to go alongside Hoopa-U. So the combination of Darmanitan plus Hoopa-U is going to be incredibly difficult to prep for. So people will definitely have to watch out for that. You guys know what this thing does. It clicks Flare Blitz and nothing switches in. It also has U-turn that it clicks sometimes, but the rest of its moves are kind of, you don't need them. I guess it runs Super Power and Earthquake if they feel like it, but you just run Scarf, Band, and call it a day with this mon. So let's move on. This is the most important pick in the draft right here. I wanted another reliable rock setter. I don't want to relegate Dugtrio and Metagross to rocks every single week. I wanted something to help with Genies, help with Torn, to help with Thundy, and I also needed what's called a Carny tier mon, which is sort of the lower tier mons. They're like tiers. If you know GBA tiering, it's like tiers 4 and 5 mostly are the Carny tier mons. So I picked up. So you need to be able to get a 12th mon, which also has to be Carny tier. You have to pick a Carny tier mon before or on the ninth round. So it's round 9. I'm looking at Carny tier mons. I want another reliable rocker. I want something bulky. I'm looking at Piloswine, looking like a pretty good fit on the team. Some ice type priorities, always welcome. But Tone takes it, so I'm left with the Lord itself. The Lord itself, Godfisk. This thing, undefeated record in the NPL so far, so it's gonna be the lucky charm to our team. It's gonna, jokes aside, memes aside, it's actually pretty solid. 109, 84, 99 defensive stats with static, super annoying. Even if you U-turn on it, you're gonna get paralyzed. And then what I said before about it switching into Thundies and Torns, pretty important. It gets Scald, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't get Volt Switch, but Thunder Wave and Stealth Rock, most importantly. It also gets Pain Split if you want to run that, but looking forward to using Stunfisk. I've never used it before, but from what I've heard, it's a god, and its record in the NPL proves that. So that was my 9th pick. It's still the wheel, so I get a 10th pick right after, and I notice for some reason Porygon 2 is still available, so I go ahead and pick that. I wanted something to switch into Ghost type moves, because right now I have no Ghost Resist. Something like Gengar could really put a hurt on my team if I let it. So picked up Porygon 2. This is going to be the last mon in my core. The Porygon 2, Milotic, Stunfisk, Decidueye, Metagross, Mega Altaria, Zapdos core, which I think is pretty solid, decently solid core in my opinion. So we got Porygon 2. You guys know what this thing does. All 3 of its abilities are pretty cool, and then it can go for ice. It gets Bolt Beam coverage. Recover, most importantly, Toxic and Thunder Wave, and that's the sets it runs. It's ridiculously bulky and hard to kill in general. I think it's especially cool having this mon when I have Mega Altaria, because that's one of the more reliable clerics in the game, and that's going to pair well with the ability to heal the top, because the best way to deal with Porygon 2 is toxicking it. So Mega Altarias can help with that a lot. So now that my core is completed, after that I just wanted to pick offense. So my next 2 picks are just me fixing this problem I had with speed. I already have plenty of coverage on my team, so I'm just trying. At this point, I'm just scrounging for speed and looking for whatever fast mons are available. So my last 2 picks are Mienshao and Ambipom. Ambipom's present was a Carny tier mon, which I think is criminal, because I think it's really good. We'll start with Mienshao because it's what I picked first. Base 125 attack, reckless, high jump kicks, super hard to switch into. Also gets pretty good coverage, gets elemental punches, knockoff, poison jab. I made this one of my Z-Mons, the other two being Metagross and Dugtrio. The reason I chose those is Metagross also has a pretty good amount of coverage, but it's kind of weak coverage. So being able to power that up is going to be really good, and also it removes its knockoff it removes some of its knockoff weakness, holding a Z crystal, because Z crystals can't be knocked off, and that lowers knockoff's power. And the reason to put Z moves on Dugtrio is because they're trapped in, you can go for the Tectonic Rage, and it's going to deal more than the banded damage to them. So in my opinion, it's the guaranteed damage from Tectonic Rage on Dugtrio or Continental Crush is more effective than Z moves on another mon when they can just protect you, go for protect, switch out or something like that. And even with Dugtrio, if I run a Z move like over a choice band, if they have Shed Shell and they switch out to, their flying type or whatever, they'll go for Tectonic Rage. I'm not completely screwed. I don't have to switch out because I can just go for Stone Edge next turn if I know they're not scarfed. But if I'm banded, then I have to switch out no matter what if I went for EQ. So I think it's a pretty effective Z-move user. I didn't need it on Darmanitan because this thing just clicks Flare Blitz anyway. I think Flare Blitz is as powerful as its Z move is, so didn't really need a Z move there. And Zapdos, it would have been cool to have Z moves on Zapdos, but that thing will be relegated to more defensive roles a decent amount of the time, so won't be that useful on it. And Decidueye obviously gets the signature Z move, but that thing's going to be leftovers a decent amount of the time. Also, it's going to be a Fogger a lot of the time. Or it's going to be offensive and run a Life Orb or something like that, so I didn't... Also, this thing doesn't have, the greatest coverage in the world. It has good coverage, but, not great. It gets Flying, Grass, Ghost most of the time, but it obviously gets the signature Z move, which is very powerful, but I thought that Metagross, Dugtrio, and Mienshao were my best three monsters to take advantage of that. Okay, Mienshao, another, it can run priority with Fake Out, and set up with Bulk Up. And it gets Bulk Up Pass, which is pretty cool. Also Calm Mind Pass if I want to do that. But cool mon. It has decent special attacks, so I can go for Bloom Dooms if I feel like it. I can go for Z knockoffs also. So in general, this thing is just going to act as a cleaner. Another good Scarfer on my team. Probably one of the best Scarfers in League format. It's 105 speed, so even Scarf Mons aren't really outspeeding it if it's Scarfed. And going for high jump kicks will hurt a lot even if it's Scarfed, because Adamant 125 is, with Reckless high jump kick, is going to hurt no matter what, so going to be pretty cool. And Ambipom, I've drafted this thing a lot before. Life Orb Technician, Fake Out, really hard to deal with. You can't really sweep if there's an Ambipom on the opposing team because it goes for Fake Out. I sack a mon, go into Ambipom, click Fake Out, sack another mon, go into Ambipom, click Fake Out, and the sweeper's usually dead. So having, Technician, Stab, Fake Out, pretty cool to have. And this thing actually gets pretty good coverage too. Gets Gunk Shot, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Knockoff, U-Turn, Pursuit. Technician Pursuit's actually kind of cool because it gets to 60 base power. Even if they don't switch out, it's still dealing a decent amount of damage. And, Thunder Wave, which I think is pretty funny, but probably not going to be running that too much. So, there's the team. I think it's pretty well balanced. I definitely have a very fat core going on. Some amazing wall breakers. I think the biggest problem with it is that I don't have much speed on it, but I think this is going to be one of the most exciting drafts I have to use. Probably one of the most exciting drafts I've ever used, just because there's a Hoopa-U, and I think that's going to be really fun to build with. And there's, Godfisk, the Lord itself. So, first MPL Minors match is going to be uploaded on Wednesday. I play against David, also known as Magic. He has a Mega Kangaskhan, also the Rufflet, so gotta prep for that. It's gonna be fun, so look forward to that being uploaded on Wednesday, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.